of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Snow tapers off this evening with an overnight low of 19, then Saturday cloudy with a high of 28. If you're looking for a birthday gift or just something for someone important in your life, make sure to check out our list of AM 950 advertisers where they have something for everybody. Many of them have gift cards too. Visit our list of advertisers at am950radio.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
Casual Friday. Casual Friday. Casual Friday on GhostBox Radio.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I really hope you had a great night, and thank you for sharing this romantic evening with me. I hope not to disappoint. And we are, in the middle of Snowmageddon, and so we're going to hand it over to Adam over at the AM 950 weather roof to let us know what the weather is like over there, Adam. There is no weather roof, unfortunately.
No, and I would not get up on the roof of this place. I barely don't like walking on the floor in the basement where the studio is for fear of falling through. But we currently have just some minor dusties right now going on in Eden Prairie. It is chilly. When the wind picks up, it is blowing that snow. So if you are driving, please remember to give yourself some extra distance. Use your lights for sure. And if you think you can't make it, instead of stopping in the middle of 94 and putting on your hazards, go to the side of the road and do it. There's your public service announcement.
You don't sound angry or anything. My goodness.
Have you seen these people?
They
will stop in the middle of 94, throw on their hazards and be like, it's too cold. No, get to the side, then do it.
My goodness. I just wanted to know how if it was snowing. So here's the thing. I mean, like Care 11 had the backyard, and I don't know what the other stations had, but I mean, I just think the AM 950 weather roof. Yeah, you're right. It's at like a 75 degree, pitch. I mean, you can just walk on one end, you'll just slide off into, your death. But I mean, it is for the listeners to be able to have accurate weather, which is what AM 950 is known for. Just something to think about, I think, down the line.
Well, next time it snows, I'll make sure to get Kevin the Sherpa, who usually helps people through the parking lot, to go up on the roof and get me a measurement.
That's the other part of it is the first of all, the parking lot is, as it is on a kind of a hill. The whole building's on a hill, and we when I was leaving today and in the throes of the snow, even in my 4-wheel drive truck, I'm getting to the end where it reaches out to Valley View, and because it's snowing and it's a hill, it was slippery, and I'm about ready to slide into traffic. So that's those are great moments. So I enjoy that very much. This station is built to kill us all, and I am not joking about that. So with a look at your AM 950 weather from the AM 950 weather roof. I mean, doesn't that not sound like really exciting?
That actually sounds much better than, from the AM 950 studios. I like the weather roof. Chad, get us a perch.
Weather roof indeed. Yeah. No, it's something. Did you see the snake tail hanging out of the ceiling on outside of the where the bathrooms are, and it's the high up part of the ceiling. There's what looked like what some people in the station said looked like a tail hanging down. And so that was the first thing I was approached about this morning when I came in, and I went and looked, and it's like, and I understand why people think it is, but I think more than likely it is like some lining on the roof or the ceiling or whatever. That's because it's kind of at a joint that's kind of disintegrated after being a building for 100 years, and it's just kind of hanging down. And I don't blame anyone for their first thoughts thinking it's some sort of animal that got into the building or reptile or whatever. It is a logical conclusion with this building.
Well, we're right there on a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And as a TV show I was just watching the other night, alligators and crocodiles can live in caves in the Ozarks in Missouri. Doesn't mean we can't have anything up here in the ceiling tiles here at AM 950. That stays warm.
No,
warmer than a cave.
No, and we truly are on wetlands over here. It's, as much as we joke about the place, I mean, this is, the land where you can see everything from frogs to snakes to turkeys. There's hawks coming. I mean, this is like a wildlife sanctuary that, it's you just sit outside and you could just see pretty much all of the land's bounty. Quite frankly, it's incredible. So yeah, no, that was the big opening to the day of, is it a snake or not? And it's a game that I guess we play here at AM 950 every once in a while. Is it animal? Is it a reptile, or is it part of the building falling apart? And it's anyone's guess, and I don't think anyone's really wrong in this game, to be perfectly honest. So
no, when we do our bingo cards every year, everybody gets it filled with either animal, building falling apart. Yeah, you're right. We all walk away with prizes at the end of the year.
Yeah, no one loses at AM 950. That's for sure. So judging by the low numbers of online people watching tonight, it's clear that the word got out that Ernie Pack will be joining us at the second and third segment tonight. And then people already have made a mass exodus of the show. I could see that already. But Ernie has a great story, and we've had him and his wife Denise on the program before. And as much as I joke about Ernie and I kind of give each other a hard time constantly, he is very much a close friend and somebody who I really adore and admire. And I don't know, he's already joined the show. I could see him in StreamYard. I said, join us at their time, 11:22. It is 11:12 their time. We have to now add that Ernie doesn't know how to tell time to all the other deficiencies that he has, which are numerous and really staggering, to be perfectly honest. Well, I can see him. He's just shaking his head. Yeah. I saw that part too.
So number 11.
Yeah, he's, with both hands. He told me I was number one. So it's pretty incredible. But one thing is very true about this, though. As much as I like to give him a hard time, His, it's, first of all, we're a paranormal show, and it's Valentine's Day. And I apologize, Adam, because Adam actually brought this up to me a couple weeks ago that we should have Ernie on the show, which I immediately was like, no. But he's just like, well, him and Denise could talk about how a spirit named Sarah brought them both together. And it's actually very beautiful. And as much as I like to give Ernie a hard time, it's a very good story, very, very beautiful, quite honestly. And it really just goes to show for me that, first of all, if anyone can love Ernie, that means there's hope for people like me who have been single for a long time. So there is that as well. My gosh, I mean, truly. So
But it honestly is, it's a paranormal story. It isn't scary, but easily probably one of my favorite paranormal stories that have been shared on GhostBox over the last few years.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about it, I think, but and if you've heard it before, it's worth hearing again. It is very cool. It's very beautiful, and one of the things I also talk about is that I've done a few spirit, we used to do more spirit box sessions private, on Facebook actually, and people would listen and stuff. And whenever Ernie and Denise would be in the comments listening, Sarah would come through. We'd hear her name. We would hear something where Denise would be sending me a comment like, that's her. And we would record it and we would send it back to them. And they're like, yep, nope, they confirm that's her. They know Sarah very well. It's not just like a lot of guesswork and stuff. There's a lot to this that is, it's this is where you befriend spirits, and we talk about this, and that spirits have become part of their family, and it's wonderful. It's really an incredible story, and like I said, and like you had originally suggested, Adam, perfect for tonight. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's not often, if you're going to talk about paranormal and things like that on Valentine's, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. But Ernie and Denise has given us the perfect topic, I think, to talk about, because what else would there be on Valentine's Day?
Well, at first when you said it, it doesn't happen often, and I thought you're going to finish that with that I would listen to something you say.
Well, that
but that's and even when you brought it up, because modesty prohibited you from making sure I remembered that you brought it up earlier. I just kind of played it off like so. And that's how I operate. And
I was just amazed. It's like you said something, like, oh, you took my idea and ran with it for once. Oh, you did that? Never mind.
I called up Ernie immediately and canceled. I'm like,
yeah, not shocked.
Not happening tonight. That's for sure. So yeah, it's it's what it is. No, but it's good. And I just want to talk about one thing, because I think we're going to take an earlier break since we do have Ernie on. We'll get to him, but I do want to first remind everybody that I will be appearing at the Eau Claire Midwest Metaparacon. That's April 11th through 13th. I will be. GhostBox Radio is the official podcast of this event, which we're very honored to be. So we're also a supporting sponsor as well. You're going to be able to meet and talk to such wonderful people as Jason Haas, Sherry DeBenedetti, Madam Adam. There is a lot of people, including people that I've tried numerous times to get on the show and they refuse. Heidi Hollis, for example, and not to name names, but she's going to be there, and she's actually very, very interesting, talking about shadow people. And there's a ton more. And you can get tickets now. You can go to metaparapro.com/Midwest Metaparacon. I'll put that on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook, as well as all my other social media platforms. And if you sign up, there's a promo code. Put in GhostBox. Just put in GhostBox, and you'll get some money off. And it's going to be a lot of wonderful stuff here. So I'm really excited about that. I'm very grateful that they invited us. We'll be talking more about that convention soon. let's just do this. Let's take a little bit of an earlier break so we can get to Ernie, because he doesn't tell stories very quickly. They tend to go on. And I reached out to the folks at Randy Road, who follows us, and it's like, you're not having a show tonight. I'm pretty sure about that. We have Ernie, and they knew, they got it, they understood. So we're just going to kind of see where it goes. If the show ends in mid-sentence, you know that he went on too long. So let's do this. It's Casual Friday, special Valentine's Day edition. We're going to be talking in a very serious story about how Denise and Ernie Pack, how they kind of became the couple that they are, thanks to this wonderful spirit named Sarah. You are listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Casual Friday. Casual Friday. Casual Friday on GhostBox Radio.
And it is Casual Friday here in GhostBox Radio. My name is Greg Bakun. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you had a great one. I also hope everybody in the Twin Cities area that's going out for a special evening has been able to, make sure that you drive safely, that you got around where you needed to go. Luckily, the snow isn't quite as bad as what they always predict, but, you still got to be careful. You got to be like a person like myself who doesn't date or doesn't know that there's other people existing, and therefore you never leave your house. I made chicken wings, so that was kind of cool. What I want to do here is I want to celebrate Valentine's Day and bring on a very special person. But she's sick tonight, so we're going to bring on her husband, Ernie. And Ernie, first of all joking aside, happy Valentine's Day to you and Denise. How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Wish Denise was feeling better, because Sarah's story and how she brought us together, Denise, her side of it is every bit as compelling and good of a story as what I can possibly give you.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that she just needs some rest and that she could bounce back or whatever. So did you go out at all tonight, or was she just too sick to do so?
Well, she got in from work and we went and had dinner at one of her favorite restaurants in town here, or not in town, but just down the road. And she just started feeling worse and worse as the night went on. I think she was just trying to get out of, Valentine's night with Ernie. I think that's what it was.
Very, very much so. And did you guys go to the Mexican restaurant?
No, to a Chinese restaurant in Elizabethtown.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Great radio, Ernie. So let's get to it. First of all, you have I just want to say real fast, you have the Todd saying hello. I was saying hello to me, not you, which is really exciting. But
Yeah,
I wanted to let him know that, thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. Let's get to it, because all joking aside, and I like to I don't know, tear you apart, I guess is the best way to talk about it. But I love this, because it really goes to show what paranormal is, what spirit communication is, what spirit interaction, and that relationship that we can build, that is not just we go into a location with a K2 and see if it lights up to red, that this is taking it to a very much next level. So Ernie, I want to just kind of hand it over to you, if that's fine. And then when it's time to take a break again, I'll probably just intercede so we can get one in and get back.
Feel free to butt in and ask questions or comment anytime. Don't worry.
Same with people in the comments. If you are curious what just some of the stuff that Ernie's talking about, please put in the comments. I see other people put in the comments some of their Valentine's Day story, and if we have time, we'll certainly get to them. But I wanted to bring Ernie on because it's and so did Adam. So it's such a great story. So go ahead, Ernie.
All right. Well, folks who know me or know who I am know that I was a guide at Waverly Hills for a long time. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. And one of the stories that we were told to pass on to guests was about a nurse who was found hanging outside of room 502 at Waverly. And, that story has a lot of layers to it that just, to me, didn't add up, didn't make a lot of sense. It's the story that's been passed down to the owners from previous employees and things like that. And that's what they believed at the time, probably what they still believe. I don't know, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And so from the moment I started going to Waverly, even as a guest myself, and heard that story, I wanted to dig a little deeper on that particular story and try to focus on that spirit with my investigations and find out what I could directly from her rather than what had been passed down through the years. And so I did that. And then, when I got to work there, I got to spend a lot of time up there. And I would spend every chance I got up there trying to communicate with Sarah. And, well, with that spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know who she was, didn't know her name.
Yeah.
The actual records of that event don't exist beyond some writings that say that a nurse was found hanging outside of this room, blah, blah, blah. And so I was trying to get to the bottom of it. And I would sit up there and I would have a recorder. I would have different devices and I would ask questions and never really got anywhere. But one night I had told the story that has been passed down about a nurse having an affair with a married doctor, getting pregnant, during this affair.
Mm-hmm.
And she, at some point, she decided the relationship broke up and she got very depressed. She either gave herself an abortion or had an abortion and then hung herself outside of room 502. And one night there was a group up there from Wisconsin that had rented the building for the night. And I'd given them their tour and I told them that story, turned them loose in the building, went back downstairs, said, I'll leave you guys alone. If you need me, come and get me. And they came and got me a couple hours in. And they said, hey, we're up here by 502 right now. I was wondering if you could come up here and help us. We're not really having a lot of interaction. I said, sure, I'll come in and give it a shot. I've tried that a lot myself and having a hard time myself. And so I walked up there and I was just listening to them at first. And they were asking questions like, why did you kill your baby? Who was the doctor you were sleeping with? Did you know his wife? And me being who I am, I started feeling bad because they were asking these questions based on what I had told them. And it sounded, I was trying to put myself in her position. What if that's not the case? And, why? No wonder she's not answering them.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I said, guys, you mind if I ask some questions? They said, sure, go ahead. And so I sat down there next to the elevator, which is right across from room 502. And I said, hey, I tell that story about you a lot that they're asking these questions based on. And I'm not sure that's really what happened. I would love to tell your story, what really happened. Could you just tell me your name? My name's Ernie. And I waited just a couple of seconds, and clear as a bell, all of us, there were 3 guys up there besides me. We all hear this little female voice coming from over by room 504 that said, Sarah, very softly, but we all heard it audibly, and we about jumped out of our skin because, when you hear a disembodied voice on an investigation, that's like next level stuff. That's not a K2 meter lighting up or something like that.
No matter how long you've been doing it, right?
Exactly. And so, I composed myself. I said, well, hello, Sarah. Like I say, my name's Ernie, and I want to tell your story. I promise you, I will tell your story as you want me to tell it, but you've just got to help me. And so that night started. I mean, we got a few more interactions for a few minutes, and then it kind of faded out. You know how paranormal stuff goes. Mm-hmm. But after that night, I started going up there time and time again and asking another question here. I'd get a response. Another question there, I'd get another response. And I started piecing together a whole different version of the story, little by little over time. And, I worked at Waverly for a while, then I would have to quit for a while, and then I'd come back, or I'd come back on a public overnight or a private overnight with some friends, whatever, and I'd go back up there to 502 and just kept doing this. And this went from, like 2009, 2010, right up until I last worked there in 2022. And in 2019, I had been going through a lot of personal problems. I had lost a job, a really good job. I had just come out of a relationship that, was brokenhearted and down, and my life was just kind of spiraling. And the only time that I really felt good was when I was up there by 502, because she would communicate with me almost every time when it was just me and her up there. Sometimes when I'd have other groups, I mean, there's videos out there of communication going on with me talking to Sarah. But 2019, I'm working at Waverly again, and a private overnight is held, and I'm the host. And there's a lady that's there with several of her friends and 3 of her daughters. And so the beginning of the night, I give them their walkthrough of the building, telling the stories. And we got up to room 502. I told that story that is basically the script for guides up there about the nurse having the affair with the married doctor and all of those things. And I got done telling it, and something told me, a little voice, actually, that same little voice that we've heard on your show, said, tell them my story. And I said, but I don't really think that's what happened. And if you'd like, I'll tell you what I think happened. And I look, and there's a lady back, the mother of those 3 girls, standing back there in the corner, and she's grinning, saying, yes, tell it. So I told Sarah's story, which I'll get to that at the end of this. And as I'm telling it, I notice she's nodding and smiling the whole time. Like, yeah, yep. Like she knew what I was going to say before I said it. And so we got done with the tour, and they were back downstairs gathering their gear, getting ready to go in to investigate. And I pulled her aside. I said, hey, when I was telling Sarah's story, you acted like you knew what I was going to say before I said it. And she said, well, I've been coming here since 2009, sometimes twice, 3 times a year. And I'm a nurse. I'm a mother. That story never made sense to me. So I've always focused on that room too.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten the same story from her that you were telling. And I was like, really? I was glad to hear it because, I'm sitting here like I'm out, twisting in the wind on this story. And she said, no, I've gotten the same. I've gotten the name Sarah. I've gotten no baby. I've gotten all of these things. I said, awesome. Well, maybe you can help me piece together more of the story. And we started talking that night. It was very awkward. She was a divorced mom who was actually happily single at the time. I was a guy going through a really hard time in my life that thought I'm too big of a mess. I don't need a relationship. We were not flirting. We were not looking for any kind of relationship stuff. But from that night on, we started talking more and more. And she was living in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Waverly, for those who don't know, is in Louisville, Kentucky. She would drive 2.5, 3 hours up on the weekends, and we would dig into Sarah's story more and more in various ways, going to the library, going to the historical society, whatever. And we became good friends doing this, and we were just friends. During that time, I lost my house, got evicted, wound up living in my car. I was, like I say, I had lost a really good job, and my bills were based on having a really good job. So everything financially was just totally screwed for me.
Yeah.
And I got really severely depressed. One night, I was hosting a private overnight, and they ended at 4 a.m. at that time. And I got the group out of the building at 4 a.m., got them in their cars, got them out of the gate, locked the gate behind them, went back in to lock the building up. And we always started locking the building from the top down. And so I went up to the 5th floor, and I decided I'm going to smoke a cigarette before I go through all of this. And I was a smoker at that time. I've quit since. But anyway, so I'm standing there on the roof of Waverly Hills. And for anyone that's ever been there, it's open air. I mean, there's a wall that's about waist high around the roof, but you can stand out on the roof. And it's a beautiful view from up there. And so I'm standing there feeling very depressed, watching the taillights fade from the group that had just left going down the hill. And I made a decision at that time. I'm going to finish this cigarette. I'm going to flick it off the roof, and then I'm going down too. I mean, that was where I was at mentally at that time. And I got almost done with the cigarette, and I heard that little voice coming from right around the corner by room 502. Call Denise. And, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I looked, and I was just kind of like, Sarah? And I didn't hear anything else, but I pulled my phone out, and I called Denise. Now, remember, it's 4 a.m. here, so it was 3 a.m. down there. And I called her. She answered on the first ring. And I didn't tell her what was going through my mind. I just said, how you doing? What are you doing up? She said, I don't ever sleep. What's going on? And so we just talked. We talked for probably 15, 20 minutes. It was just a casual conversation. But my mind was in a different place at the end of that conversation. Hung up the phone, went back through. I said, thank you, Sarah. Good night. locked the building, left, went out to the parking lot and slept. And from that night on, things started happening where Denise, Waverly Hills is almost impossible to get into. It's really hard to get a reservation or a ticket to go because they used to at least sell out very fast. She had people calling her saying, "Hey, I've got an overnight at Waverly. Do you want to take it over? We've got an extra ticket for a public overnight. Do you want to go?" She just kept winding up at Waverly. It was like Sarah was pushing us together. And I've felt since that time, I mean, I'm kind of cutting to the chase a little bit, but I've felt since that time that Sarah was looking out for, she saw two souls that needed something, needed to be brought together.
Yeah.
And she brought us together because Denise was getting the same kind of messages, you know, hearing that same voice at times when at very dark times in her life. And it just kept happening. And we wound up on top of Mitchell Hill at a cemetery, which is for people who aren't from around here, they won't know where I'm talking about. But we were at a cemetery nearby, and we were searching for Sarah's grave. And we actually think we found it that night, although you go up there now and the stone's not there anymore, but it was there then.
Wow.
And we wound up having a Bigfoot experience of all things. We were not looking for Bigfoot. We were not Bigfoot believers. We had a Bigfoot experience. And I told another radio host about this, and who you know, Greg. I don't think we need to mention her name. But we went on her show because she was very into the Bigfoot. Hello, Linda. So we had to have a team name to be on her show. So we just, you know, I'm like, well, my nickname's always been Pac-Man. What did Pac-Man in the game do? He chased ghosts. So boom, Pac-Man Paranormal is born. So now here's me and Denise, these two friends that are still refusing to be any more than that. We're forced to kind of spend more time together because we got this show that we're doing, this live stream, and all these other people are coming at us and wanting to hear Sarah's story and chiming in with their own pieces of Sarah's story. And eventually we wound up admitting that we were a couple. And I mean, things moved very fast once we did. I mean, we were living together in no time, and it just, everything, my life just blossomed from that moment.
Yeah.
And it's all Sarah's fault.
Why don't Ernie, why don't we do this? Because this is great. Can we get in a quick break here and come back and finish up this story? It's amazing. If anyone has any questions about Ernie and Denise's experience with really anything but this in particular, it's such a great and it's such a heartwarming story. We're going to finish this up when we come back. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Casual Friday. Casual Friday. Casual Friday on GhostBox Radio.
And happy Valentine's Day to everybody as we are in our last segment of this special Valentine's Day episode of GhostBox Radio. Thank you for joining us. Join us Monday on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun as we're going to have Miss Sarah Jane, who is co-owner of Get Haunted. She's going to be on the program talking about the state of women in the paranormal. And I think it's a very fascinating conversation. I think there's a lot of directions we can go with it. But, you know, as a man, I don't know. I don't know the direction. I don't know the state of it. And I'm only seeing it from one point of view. So I'm really excited to get her take on it. I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation that you all can join in on. We are talking with Mr. Ernie Pack of Pac-Man Paranormal. We're listening to his story about him and his wife, Denise, who are brought together by a spirit named Sarah, who came from Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. And before we get back to Ernie, I just want to say, Linda put up the comment, Sarah, the matchmaker from the other side, that's special. It really is. It really is. No, for a bit, before Adam mentioned bringing you on, and before I remembered that he mentioned to bring you on, I was thinking that we're going to have the night full of stories, like you'll find stories about I married a ghost and now I divorced him and all that stuff, but this is the real deal. And this is great. We have probably about, 10, 11 minutes left before we need to wrap up. So where we left off is where you and Denise, finally, I'm sure everyone around you was probably like, finally, you're admitting that you're a couple, right? I mean, that's just kind of how that stuff works.
Yeah. Like I say, we had been friends in the truest sense of the word. I mean, no romance, no nothing going on at any time, but we were just always together. And so then, we finally admit we're a couple. We move in together. We start Pac-Man Paranormal. We started a podcast on the old Paranormal warehouse.
Oh yeah.
And we had a lot of reach with that. I mean, worldwide reach, and a lot of people would chime in when we would talk about Sarah's story. We would get people sending us messages with their own evidence. Trinity Paranormal Investigations out of Long Island, Kat Maria up there has sent us quite a bit, and Courtney, they've sent us quite a bit of stuff that correlated with what we were getting of Sarah's story. So we, continued to piece it together a little at a time, like puzzle pieces. And we went back to work at Waverly a couple years ago, and we were able to tell her story on the tours, and not the canned story that has basically been contradicted by a lot of paranormal evidence from over 30 teams we know of that have, chimed in to piece together this story. And we only got a little bit of time. I figure I better tell Sarah's story.
Please.
She has told, and like I say, folks, this is not one conversation. This is not something that, she just sat down and told me one day. She passed away in 1933, we think. So it was paranormal research and lots of trips to libraries and whatnot, trying to correlate things. And sometimes we were able to, sometimes not. But anyway, her story was that she had an older sister. She was the youngest child in her family. And she had an older sister that she adored, was her hero, basically. And that older sister caught tuberculosis as a young teen, wound up dying at the age of 15 from tuberculosis. And Sarah wanted to be a nurse. When she grew up, she wanted to help children with tuberculosis. She got that opportunity when she was 22. She got a job at Waverly Hills. And she was a very small woman, very tiny in every way, very short, very little, very soft-spoken. And the staff there thought she'd be a perfect fit for the really sick kids that they kept on the 5th floor at Waverly. And because she was a new hire, she worked mostly nights. A lot of times she'd be alone up there on the 5th floor. And she was there for 3 years. She loved her job. It was heaven to her, basically. I know that because I've asked her several times, why aren't you in heaven? And her reply has been, this was heaven to me.
Sure.
And anyway, one night she's alone on the night shift in room 504, which is the room right next to 502, of course. And another staff member came up the steps. He didn't use the elevator because she never heard a bell. And the way that came about was kind of funny. The way I got that information anyway was kind of funny. I kept getting over different devices and EVP recordings, no bell, no bell. So I went down this rabbit hole of looking for a Nobel Prize winner that had worked at Waverly. You know, it being a research hospital, I thought, well, maybe someone got some kind of Nobel Prize for medicine or something, you know, and maybe that's a tie or something. No. One night I got I'm sitting there by room 502 looking straight across at the elevator, and there's a bell next to it. And it kind of registered in my head. I said, did you mean that you never heard the bell ring? They didn't use the elevator? A couple nights later, I go back and I listen to that recording. And as soon as I said that, this little tiny voice goes, yes, like I've been trying to tell you that for years and you finally get it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the staff member comes up the steps, comes into the room behind her. He attacks her. She tries to fight back. She's too little. He's too strong. He got what he wanted, is what she said. And somewhere in the process, he hurt my neck, is what she said. And several teams have gotten that same thing, hurt my neck. They lied. They covered it up. Help me. Help me. And that story makes a lot more sense to me than a nurse who gave up basically everything to go to work at Waverly Hills for very little money and not great treatment, hanging herself in plain view of those very precious patients like that. So,
and I just want to jump in real fast. Why? We don't even have to answer. I just want to rhetorically ask this. Why is it that so many of these places have these stories that always are like the people that we're talking about are shown in the worst light, or shown to have the worst, they don't even have the right ethics or whatever else. And it's people like you and all these other teams that eventually find out that salaciousness is not the truth.
I don't know. And like I say, the story that Tina and Charlie, the owners of Waverly, gave us to tell was told to them by a former staff member. So they had no reason to deny it or doubt it or anything like that. So I'm not saying that there's not some elements of their version that don't have some validity to them. I'm just saying what we've gotten through paranormal research is totally different.
Well, no doubt she's a nurse. I mean, that part's right. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, the basic level of it, at least.
Exactly. And it makes a lot more sense too when you think about it. I mean, like I say, people who went to work at Waverly Hills, Waverly was a self-contained community. You could not go out into the general public if you worked there at that time because everyone was quarantined to the hill. Nurses didn't make a lot of money. They made about $25 a week back then. Nursing was not a hero occupation at that time. It was a menial task, basically. And women were not treated well in the workplace in those days, as we all know.
Yeah.
Who's to say that a sexual predator didn't get a job at Waverly Hills as a orderly or whatever?
Yeah.
And where's his pool of victims going to come from when those urges hit? It's got to come from within. Who's the perfect victim? That tiny little nurse working alone on the night shift. You strangle her or whatever, break her neck during the struggle. What's the easiest way to cover it up? Hang the body, make it look like a suicide, come up with this other story that gets told. And I think to your point and your question earlier, Greg, I think a lot of locations, and I'm not saying Waverly has done this at all. I'm saying a lot of locations that we have visited, though, they want the place to be seen as scary. They want the paranormal to be scary.
Yeah.
And Sarah's story is a perfect example that it's not, and it doesn't have to be. There are times when we get scared or jump scares or whatever, but it's not scary. They're people with stories. They want to help us as much as we help them a lot of times, I think.
I agree. We have about 3 minutes left, so I want to make sure that you're getting to if there's I just don't want to cut you off. Let's put it that way.
Well, I've tried to edit it down as much as I could. Really, that's the basics of it. But Sarah, we had her as our maid of honor when we were married. We got married at a haunted location by an exorcist, which is perfect for paranormal people, I'm sure.
Right.
And we had a chair sitting there. We had a little nurse's hat sitting on it. We had some roses, candle, a little name placard that said Sarah, and sat a flashlight on that chair when we were saying our vows. That flashlight never went off until Denise started saying her vows. Every time it was time for Denise to talk, the light would come on. When she was done talking, it would go off.
Wow. Todd
Eskew was there. It's on video. We live streamed our wedding, and it's there. And she's still with us. We've still got that chair downstairs, and the flowers, the rose petals are still there. The name placard and the nurse's hat still there downstairs. She visits us here. She visits with us about anywhere we go. And she's kind of our spirit, I don't know, guide, or I don't know what to call her really, but she's
friend. Best friend.
Exactly.
I mean, also I did see the video of your wedding, and if I'm not mistaken, it looked like Denise was brought in kind of shackled and with something over her head.
Yeah, she was blindfolded or had a bag over her head and handcuffed, and they drug her down the aisle.
Right. That feels right.
When the exorcist made her say her vows, she said them, and we didn't have to, resort to violence or anything.
God, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. So Todd is in the comments. He says it was an honor to watch Ernie and Denise's relationship grow and their passion for Sarah and the paranormal as a whole. That's really
Todd's been there pretty much the whole way, and he's had his own interactions with Sarah, and he's my best friend. He's a brother to me, and he's seen it all.
Yeah, no. And Linda says the fuller story of Sarah is so much more. Love it. Thank you to everyone who contributed to Sarah's research story, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Is be able to, we understand that history and stories get kind of manipulated over time, but it's great when people take the time to try to find out what really happened and do their best to do so.
Absolutely. And this was a perfect case of para-unity, something they say doesn't exist, but it existed to piece together Sarah's story.
It's because it doesn't exist, but I appreciate the caveat for that this time. That's the truth. So first of all, thank you for sharing that story with us. You and Denise, that you own the Ditto House, the most haunted house in Kentucky, And then you and Denise manage Fort Duffield, which is up the road, where we've talked ad nauseum about our Squatch experience up there. Do you have any events coming up that you want to share with us?
Well, we've got our first event of the year at Fort Duffield, the Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire, which is basically that. We have a cookout, we have a campfire, we tell stories around the campfire. You're at Fort Duffield, you're liable to have Bigfoot activity, you're liable to have spirit activity, you're liable to have UFO activity. I mean, we've got the trifecta there. And speaking of that, Get Haunted is going to do a trifecta event up there where we try to bring in all of that. We're going to have Squatchman Greg Yost, Todd Leanne Eskew, Christopher Lee Jansen, Robin Sarah from Get Haunted. A whole cast of folks are going to be up there helping with this. It's going to be a great time. We've got a lot of things coming up down the road. We're going to be at Rock Island Roadhouse with you.
Yep.
Doing a lot of things. We got a lot of things going on.
Where can they find you on Facebook?
You can find me, Ernie Pack, on Facebook, just like it is on the screen for those who are watching. It's ERNIAPACK for those who aren't, or Pac-Man Paranormal. We have a Facebook page and group. We've also got a page for the Real Ditto House in 1841 and a Facebook group for Hauntings of Fort Duffield.
Ernie Pack, thank you so very, very much. This was fantastic, and thank you for taking time out of your Valentine's Day to tell us this really worthwhile story. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's good talking to you always. Good seeing you, Adam. Didn't get to talk to you, but good seeing you.
Good to see you too, Ernie.
And before we head out, I just want to quickly say, Adam, thank you so much for staying during the Snowmageddon 2025. Get safely home. Thank you for everything. We'll be back on Monday with Sarah Jane talking about women in paranormal. Everyone, have a great weekend.
Your need to know news